Hey, what's up everybody? It's Matt here with Tanks Lawn Maintenance. It is currently 9 a.m. Thursday morning, February the 7th, I do believe, 2024, year of our Lord. Don't quote me on that date, I'm pretty sure it's the 7th though. But anyway guys, just want to hop on here real quick. I'm sitting out here in the driveway, man. It's 35 degrees. It's a very clear, crispy, cool morning, and it feels good, man. It's 35, no wind. It's a nice morning, it really is. I know a lot of folks, like my wife included, are complaining about it being cold. Shoot, I'm out here with shorts and a t-shirt on, man. I like cold weather, I just don't like wind, you know what I mean? But anyway, enough of that, that's not important. I hope y'all can see me well, man. There's a fierce glare coming in my front windshield, man. I've got both visors down so I can see and not have the sun right in my face. But I'm about to go inside in a few minutes and get changed up and cleaned up and everything. I'm gonna meet my son, or I'm gonna go to the schoolhouse and eat lunch with my son. Just kind of surprise him. I know a lot of dads do that on Fridays. It's not Friday for us, it's Thursday, but tomorrow everybody's playing hooky from school and we're headed out to Myrtle Beach. We've got a volleyball tournament we've got to be at. But anyway, just wanted to touch on something real quick. I've been planning on doing this for about a week now. I just didn't know how I wanted to do it, and then somebody commented on a video I made yesterday. Shout out to you, Matt, man. But asking me how I accept payments, and I really want to touch on just payments in general, and options and packages and things like that. But the way I do it is, as far as packages, I give my customers 3 separate prices whenever I give a quote. The very first package I give them, it's a complete package for complete property maintenance. And 2 of those packages, two of the packages I give them, you know, if they accept one of the first 2 packages, that package is a contract. If that's something they're interested in. And it's not like a formal contract where you sign, but if you accept that price and that package, then according to some legal people that I have spoke to, if they accept it through text, that's just as good as signing a contract. And so they are legally bound for a 12-month period to make that monthly payment. Now, I'm not sure how that works, but I'm not going to take somebody to court over a couple $100. You know, once it gets up into the thousands, yeah, I might would take somebody to court over something like that, but not for a couple $100. But anyway, the way I do it is, I'll give them the first package option that I give them is a complete property maintenance package. That everything they have on their property, if it grows out of the ground, I'll maintain it. Like, it'll be, if they choose bi-weekly service, you know, it'll be 23 mows throughout a 12-month period. It'll be 3 to 5 bush trimmings, depending on the types of bushes they have. And I base that on the type of bushes they have. But normally it's 3 bush trimmings a year, and sometimes it's 5. But it'll be 1 tree pruning every January. It'll be, what else is it? It will include trimming rose bush or pruning rose bushes back every year, and one leaf cleanup and 1 spring cleanup. Now, the spring cleanup is not very, you know, it's usually between an hour and a half, 2 hours for a spring cleanup, as long as you're keeping the property maintained. And same with leaves, you know, you usually don't spend no more than about an hour and a half, 2 hours on leaves, as long as you're keeping the property maintained. And I usually just add a 2 hour charge in there, and I break it down. And the way I do that is I'll take all that, I'll add that all together, and whatever that comes out to be, that total for the year, I'll divide that over 12. I'll divide that by 12, and that will be their monthly payment. And I give them the option of whatever date they want to pay it on. And but once they choose that date, that's their date, and that's the day that the invoice is billed, and all of my stuff is due upon receipt. But the second option is I'll give them a package for strictly mowing 23 times a year. And then the third option is I will give them a pay-per service for mowing and a pay-per service for bush trimming. And I tell them if there's any other service on the property that they want, I will come out and look at the property at that time and give them a price on it. 9 times out of 10, when I give a quote, they choose the first package option. They usually want their whole property maintained, and which is great. It's good for me because I don't give them a discount for that. Everything is simply like it is. It just makes it easier for the customer to pay all of that over a 12-month period than what it is for them to pay $500 here, $70 here. You know, it's easier for them to pay it over a 12-month period all in one bill than it is to receive multiple bills throughout the month for different services. And I've only had just a handful of people that, since I started implementing that, I've only had a handful of people that wish to remain on pay-per service. But and I don't have anybody that strictly pays for lawn mowing. All of my customers have multiple services that they receive. So yeah, and that is something that has actually helped me generate more revenue in my business. And I think I explained all that when I walked around. I showed y'all the walk around of my property yesterday when I showed you what the potential of revenue was on a property like mine, on a basic property. And I'm gonna say probably, honestly, I'm gonna say probably 95% of my customers get every service that I offer. And I don't have any that just get lawn mowing. I have just a handful that do pay-per service, but everybody I has either gets pine straw or mulch. You know, everybody does that. So I'm very fortunate with that, and doing things that way has generated a lot more revenue, and it actually doubled my income last year when I started doing that. And now I didn't start doing that at the beginning of the year last year. I actually started doing that at the very end of July. I started offering those packages out, and people bid it, man. They liked it. But that's how I do my package offers or options for my services. Now, as far as payment options, when I first started, you know, I truly believe when you first start your business, you need to take whatever you can get. You know, as far as payment options go, you can. I'm not so sure that I would take a personal check from someone, and the reason being is because you hear too many stories about people getting burned. Somebody will write a rubber check, you know, and that thing will bounce, and it'll actually screw your bank account up too if you accept a bad check. But so that's something I would be very leery of. And it's okay to accept cash when you first start out, you know, because chances are when you're first starting your business, you're not going to have a CRM set up. And when I say a CRM, that stands for Customer Relationship Manager. And most of the time, CRMs have multiple ways or multiple options you can do. Some of them are free, some of them you have to pay for. But 9 times out of 10, you're not going to have that set up. You're not going to be that far into it, that far advanced when you're starting out. And so it's okay to test the waters. You know, it's okay it's okay to take, you know, cashier's checks, certified checks. I would probably stay away from personal checks unless you actually know that customer very well and you know they're good for it. But it's okay to accept cash. It's okay to accept PayPal, Cash App, Venmo, Zelle, all that good stuff when you're first starting out. Whatever it takes to just get revenue going, you know what I mean? But I would say after you test the waters, you know, maybe after your first full year or maybe after your first 6 months, after you get a good amount of revenue, and I would say if you get up to probably the $15,000 or $20,000 a year mark, I would say at that point, it's time, it truthfully is time to get an EIN number and start a business banking account, checking account, and separate your funds, for one. And for two, I highly recommend getting a CRM. And like me, I use Yardbook. And Yardbook, I have all of my customers set up where they're on recurring invoices on whatever date they choose. And that day when I wake up, the invoices are already made and ready to go. All I have to do is hit send. That's all I have to do. And it also gives you the option to keep cards on file. And personally, I don't do that. I don't necessarily have a reason to, and I understand the reasoning behind it is so you can get your money. But you know, if I ever get to a point where I start having trouble collecting money from customers, I'll switch over to that. But I'll only do it for the customers that I'm having a problem with. But I have yet to have somebody stiff me on anything, and until that happens, I'm just gonna keep doing it the way I'm doing it. But and I'm sure it's coming, you know. And nothing's perfect, and I've been very fortunate when it comes to that, by the grace of God. But if that ever does happen, I will switch to card on file for that particular customer if I decide to keep them. But the way I did it, you know, when I first started, I took cash. I took cashier's checks. I didn't, you know, nobody ever paid me. Nobody ever wrote me a check. I had just a handful of people write me checks, and it was people that I knew I could trust. So I accepted their checks. But I was accepting all forms of payment, man. You know, I didn't have my CRM my first year, so I couldn't take debit cards or credit cards or anything like that. But I took PayPal, Cash App, Venmo. I took cash. And the thing that was very frustrating is that we used my wife's Cash App, PayPal, and Venmo. I didn't have any of that set up. And I got all of that set up right at the beginning of my second full season. And then somebody asked me one day, I took on a new customer, and they asked me one day how whenever I gave them a quote, they asked me how they need to pay. And they said, do you mail out a bill or an invoice, or do I just pay you when you're done cutting the grass? I mean, I don't know how to do this. I've never had lawn service before. And I said, well, I've never thought about mailing out invoices. I said, that's all new to me. I said, I'm still kind of new to this myself. This is only my second season. And I said, but I said, if you want an invoice, I said, I'll look into doing that for you. And I bought an invoice pad, like a paper invoice type deal. And I was making out paper invoices, and it was just very unorganized. Well, I think it was Jason Creel over at Lawn Care Life is the one I heard talking about Yardbook. And I was telling my wife about it, and I'm not very good when it comes to technology, and my wife, she's pretty slick when it comes to that kind of stuff. So she looked into it, and she downloaded the app. And I don't necessarily use the app. I use I just get online and log in every time I get ready to do it. But she looked into it, and it was a pretty good thing, and it actually routed everything for me. And it's so many things, you know. She saw where I could send email or send out quotes and estimates, and she saw where I could actually give someone an estimate through email before even going to their property. And when she told me that, that's when I said, let's do it, man, because that's going to save me time and gas. And then we got into the invoicing part of it, and she's the one that set up our our business account and all that through invoicing, and I'm the one that takes care of sending out invoices and all of that good stuff and getting everybody set up. But that right there has just been life-changing for me. I mean, it's probably saved me 2 or 3 hours at the end of every evening. For one, you know, I don't have to sit down and make out a list to run my route the next day. And for two, it automatically sets up an invoice the night prior to me, or the night before that customer is supposed to receive an invoice. And then when I wake up in the morning, I get a notification. All I have to do is click on that notification, and when I hit send, it sends all the invoices that are supposed to go out. So it's just one click of a button and everything's taken care of. And when the customer pays, the invoice is automatically switched over to paid, and it goes directly into my bank account. I want to say within 3 business days it's in my bank account. But now, as far as invoicing and online payments go, the invoicing is free, but the online payments is not free. And it's a certain percent of each payment that Yardbook keeps as a processing fee, and it's also a certain dollar amount. I think it's less than $1 per transaction, but it you know, overall it equals up to a little less than 3% of my overall transactions. It usually equals up to a little less than 3%. Very rarely have I seen it go above 3%, but it's normally right under 3%. It just depends on the price that customer pays, you know. And the way I do it is, when I give a customer a quote, I haven't always done this, but I started, sorry guys, I had to stretch, man, my back's hurting. But the way I do it, I started doing this year. I haven't always done this way, but when I started giving quotes this year, whatever that quote came out to be every month, I would add in 3% of that fee and throw that in on top of the quote. And I don't make it known that that's a processing fee. I just include that in with the quote, and the customer never knows. And now, yeah, I guess you can say that's kind of dirty and deceptive, but this is my theory. Every business has overhead, okay? And when you're paying processing fees, that's part of your overhead. And if that's the only payment method that you offer, you have to eat that. So why not include that in your overhead? And you know what it costs you to run your business with your overhead and everything, so you know what you have to make per hour. That's all part of it, if you ask me. And when you do online payments for any other service, whether it be you paying your power bill, whether you pay a plumber, electrician, if you do online grocery cart or grocery store orders, pay your cable bill, your mortgage online, all of that has a processing fee, and the customer is the one that eats it. So why does it have to be different for the lawn man? I mean, we're a service provider too, right? So I don't necessarily tell the customer that they're having to pay a processing fee. You know, if I offered other forms of payment, you know, if I still accepted cash, if I still took PayPal, Venmo, Cash App, and all that stuff, I would throw out online payments as an option, but I would tell them, hey, it's a 3% fee if you use a credit card or debit card. Then, you know, yeah, I could see letting the customer know then. But that's all part of running a business, man. That's all included in your overhead. And I still eat some of the fees. I don't eat them all, but I do eat some of them. And I think it's only fair, you know. It should you have to factor all that in, man, because nothing's free in life, and it costs you money to run your business. In turn, your customer is paying for that when they get a service. So that's just life. That's the way things are, and you can say what you want about it, but it's just the fact of it's just a fact of life, you know. Every service provider does that. It is what it is. It's to be expected. Now, I completely understand that you have a lot of people out there, especially your elderly crowd, that do not like paying online. They would still rather pay with cash. And I get it. I completely understand. Cash is king, and I wish the world was still set up that way. But the bottom line is we live in a digital age, okay? You can fight it all you want, but we are going digital. All right? The world is changing, and it is changing fast. And you're going to have that occasional customer that looks at an online payment, or looks at a chip card or a credit card as it being the mark of the beast or something like that. You're going to have those old school people that are like that. And you know, sooner or later you're going to have to get to a point, you're going to come to a point where you're going to have to ask yourself, is it worth it for me to accept other forms of payment? Because here's the thing. Say you accept cash, okay? I'm not saying there's anything wrong with accepting cash, but just say, it's starting to get a little toasty in here, guys. Hold on. All right, but say you accept cash payments, okay? Now, my philosophy is you need to report everything, okay? You do not need to hide money from the IRS. I think that's a dangerous game. I think you're flirting with disaster if you do that, so it's best to report everything. Now, say you accept cash payments and you have to go deposit that cash. Even if you waited till the end of the week, say you've got 2 customers every day that collect cash, all right? You're gonna have to put that cash up every day, and you're gonna have, just say you work 4 days a week, that's 8 cash payments every week that you've got to take to the bank. All right, you take checks, you're gonna have to do all that too, same way. Now when you get to the bank, you're gonna have to fill out a deposit slip. That all takes time, okay? Yeah, it doesn't take long to fill out a deposit slip, but the fact of the matter is, it's still time, okay? It's time out of your day, it's time out of your life. Say you take Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, Zelle, whatever it may be. Yeah, it's a little bit easier than going to the bank, but still, you have to transfer all that. Mobile check deposit is still easier than going to the bank. Yes, I understand that, but you have to transfer all of that. All of that takes time, okay? Say you have 10 customers every single day that wants to pay Cash App, PayPal, or Venmo, or cash, or check, or whatever it may be. Now, I don't know if you've ever transferred a Venmo payment or not, but it's a very small process, okay? It might take you a minute. Now, switching back and forth like that and doing 10 different payments and transferring it all at one time, you know, is irritating. It really is. It's time consuming. It's time out of your day. You don't want to be bothered with it. A lot of times you'll forget about it, and that's just human nature, you know. You forget about things. You end up having to do it the next day, or you have to do it on Saturday or Sunday or whatever it may be. And if you do anything on the weekend, it's going to be 4 or 5 days before you get your money. So it's best to do it during the week. Now, if that's okay with you, then by all means do that. But me personally, it is much more convenient for me and my business to just mail out an invoice, and the customer clicks on the link and they pay the They pay the bill online. It's so much easier for me, for the customer to do that. And I'm at a point now to where if a customer doesn't want to do that, I don't take that customer on. That's just the simple facts. The only form of payment that I accept anymore is online payments. And I'm at a point now in my business where I can do that. So you have to remember that. Just because somebody that's been doing it for a few years and is a little more established can do something, it doesn't mean that you can do something. And you have to decide what is best for you. But either way it works, either way is fine. Just make sure whatever you do it correctly, you stay on top of it, and you're legal. You know, it's best to be honest. It's best to report everything to the IRS, because the last thing you need is the IRS showing up at your door telling you that you owe them money for back taxes that you have not paid. So be legit, do everything, report everything, pay your taxes. But I hope y'all got something out of this. If this video helped you out at all, consider hitting that like and subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you can get notified anytime I put out a video. I'm going to hop off here. Until the next one, y'all keep cutting that grass and keep making that money. I'll let y'all. Bye.